Hello, and welcome to my video. What comes to mind when we hear of a haunted house is the typical old house with entities beyond our comprehension inhabiting it and scaring anyone who enters. However, this goes beyond that. In the past, haunted houses were often just backdrops, scary locations with no real agency, but in more modern stories, they have become much more than that. Despite what I just said is the general rule in most movies, there are exceptions to the rule in which the house represents more than just a scare machine, it is a substantial piece for the plot to advance. Even in some films like Monster House, the house is its own character, because in the past, its owner and his wife had a tragic accident in which the soul of his deceased wife possesses the house and begins to eat people who even touch his garden. This marks the beginning of a shift. The house is no longer just haunted. It acts, it feels, and it reacts. To better understand this evolution of the haunted house concept, we will explore Stephen King's iconic The Shining. Since there are no images relevant to this book itself, I'll take the liberty of using a fragment from the Shining series, which is closer to its original version.
What would you give me a... Yeah! Oh! Faker! Oh, kill the ref. Kill him, I say. Yeah. Fortunately, my little chickadee, yeah. A lot more where that came from. Yes, yes. Bebop. Hit me with it.
May I pour you one more drink, sir?
One? One, he says. What is your name?
Grady, sir. Delbert Grady.
Well, Delbert. Just one is no longer in my vocabulary. I've got a lot of lost time to make up for, and it's been a dry century.
Yes, sir. I meant, may I pour you one more before you go on to the ballroom, sir?
Why would I want to go into the ballroom, Grady, when all my friends are here?
You have friends everywhere in the Overlook, Mr. Torrance, if I may say so, sir.
Oh. You keep pouring, and you can say anything you like, big boy. Why are we going into the ballroom?
You're expected, sir. At the party?
Well, in that case, Delbert, I think you better hose this baby down.
My pleasure, sir.
A scene, it is almost the same scene but with different variations. In this, Jack, without much detour, takes the drink, accepting, so to speak, the bartender Lloyd's treatment. I always like to see this scene as if the hotel itself, representing Lloyd, was trying to take over Jack or manipulate him in any case. But this is more ambiguous than it seems. In Kubrick's adaptation, the haunted setting serves more as a psychological mirror than a literal ghost. The film, The Hotel, does not have that essence. It is more ambiguous, and all the weight of evil falls on Jack, who acts as a mirror that reflects the violence, isolation and frustration that Jack already carries within. However, in the book, it is the opposite. The hotel shines on its own by having motivations that are made clear to us throughout the work, such as murders, corruption, rituals, and an accumulation of evil that turns the hotel into a kind of territorial demon. In other words, the hotel in the novel is an active, supernatural character, while in the film, the hotel is a symbol of human deterioration rather than a character with its own intention. Moving into real life, there are also haunted houses, such as the famous Matusita house in Peru, which is saddled with a story of a murder that ended with the house becoming the subject of urban legends, despite several documentaries chronicling everything that happens inside. Finally, sometimes authors in the horror genre and in the haunted house subgenre resort to this resource of turning the place where the work will take place, the same house, into a kind of character in itself, an antagonist, in a few words, from whom the protagonist must escape or a way to get rid of said place. In conclusion, haunted houses have evolved throughout these years.